Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh Weekly. As always, I'm Robo, and it's just one of those weeks, you know? I thought Wednesday was Friday, mostly because Veebs and I did a Fwooshcast Live late night after hours thing, and my brain went to doing Unparalleled Universe on Fridays where we go late. But I think it was also kind of Hasbro starting their HasLab Hiss that day, and then it already funding. For some reason, my brain thinks, well, that happens over weekends. And I hate it when that happens, when you think it's later in the week and then suddenly, oh, it's only the middle of the week. So when it came to preparing for today, it was kind of, but at the same time, it's, well, I am talking about toys, so there's worse things in the world. Let's jump back to last week for a slight correction on the Medicom MAFEX classic costume Spider-Man. There, I said it was complete reuse of their previous comic book Spider-Mans, all except the shoulders, which seem to have an extra angle put into it between the reds and the blues. Well, you may be surprised to hear this, but I was wrong. That realization started when Vapo22 commented that the shoulders weren't new, but actually the originals flip left to right, where the front is back and the back is front. To which I promptly went, nuh-uh. And then they went, uh-huh. That made me reach over and grab the comic book Spider-Man I had directly to my right, within arm's reach the whole time, and go, no, there is no, oh. Maybe there is. For the promo pictures of the new classic costume, you can look at the back and there's your straight line. Well, it kind of going down. So yeah, complete reuse. And I'm guessing that's why Medicom is confident with a October 2022 release schedule, but as always, we'll see what happens there. In other MAFEX news, there was a tease for The Boys Starlight. Along with Black Noir and pre-orders for reissues of Billy Butcher and Homelander going up just last week, I gotta think Medicom's pretty happy with the sales of this property. We'll probably hear more about this next month, because they've already done their double showing for June. Earlier this month, we talked about preliminary pictures for, what's it called? Dino Battlefield, which is simply gladiator humanoid dinosaurs. Now there's more pre-orders, and you know what that means? Ooh, info, more pretty pictures. First up, there are 3 colorways. Green and orange are the standard options, but there's also a limited release white that is short packed in random cases. That means you can't actually order it. It's a chase. It's just showing up wherever the hell it wants to. On top of that, there are 2 options for facial features and armor setups here, and it can get a bit confusing. If you want the downturned horns, flared nostrils, and spiky armor, go with 001. If you want upturned horns, they be living in Jurassic World. That's dumb. Angled nostrils and differently spiked armor, go with 002. Okay, it's not super confusing, but it takes a minute to spot the differences, especially since everything with every figure is interchangeable. All the armor is removable, so really if you wanted to, you could just have a basic dinosaur body. But you can also take those armors, swap between the figures, and then even the spikes plug into ports. So you can take these spikes, put them over here, take this armor, put it over here with this shoulder and the crotch piece and everything, and options, baby. They're always good. And at 8 inches tall, they're gonna stand out in any display you put them in. You know, besides being warrior humanoid dinosaurs. $75, and if you click the 5K Toys link in the description, it says $20. That is the deposit. Read down, it says you're gonna owe more money when it comes in, and that should be early 2023, somewhere in there. Hey! And I say it like that because I've started this several times, so many M's in this sentence. But do you remember the Mattel Masters of the Universe Masterverse 40th anniversary He-Man? You know, the good-looking Masterverse He-Man with vintage toy aesthetics just thrown in there? At the time, my only real complaint was the heavy wash. It came off as more muddy, dirty, and inconsistent because the face was clean, yet the body was just heavy shading. But at least Mattel was trying, you know? You gotta give them applause just for stepping out of their comfort zone. But it also seems that they took those critiques to heart because a new promotional picture of the figure in the package has popped up, and it's showing that that wash was either completely removed or lightened way up. I think it looks better overall. It gives us more options. And for those of us who didn't like the wash, but like a wash, we were gonna have to remove it and then add it back. This way, it's a blank slate. Hey, we can throw in whatever we want. If you were fine with it before, sorry. As much as I like seeing that, this picture is doing this figure no favors. First, it's elongated horizontally for some reason. You can see the face The chest, everything is like super wide. Even the Mattel logo is an oval. So let's squish it down a little bit, make it match the dimensions of the original package promo shot. See? Flip, 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 flip. Now let's tweak the colors and shadows since the white balance on this new picture is all out of whack. Again, trying to match up with the original. That makes the skin tones seem a little bit more natural and pops the shading that they did leave in the hair and the fur parts. You know, the fur parts. Comparing side by side with the first shot, the only real big thing that jumps out at me is they took the metallicness away from the chest harness. It's a shame, but it also makes sense to match up with the weapons. So I won't complain too much. That is all assuming that this is a new shot. It could be one of the first shots. Notice there's not a band around the shield to hold it in the packaging, and toy companies love that shit. Maybe this is just now slipping out, and I don't know. It does make me more excited to see this figure in person. Over on the McFarlane side of things, there are more Target exclusives when it comes to Batman 66, which I think most of this line has been Target exclusive, right? For the usual reissues, there is another Batman and Joker, which, you know, it's Batman and Joker. You got to keep them out there in a line like this. But this time around, they are black and white. Not gonna lie, to me, these are more tempting because there's even more nostalgia behind it, I guess. And I just love a good grayscale. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, come on. It's an old TV show. Yes, was in color, but the black and white, you still see that popping up in every night. And watching it back in the day, a lot of people had black and white TVs. As far as new characters in the line, they debuted Auto Primager Mr. Freeze. This absolutely will melt into the rest of your collection. I apologize, but we are talking about Batman 66. And it sets up for reuse if they want to give us an alternate Eli Wallach head. No freeze gun. I was about to rant and rave about, Warner Brothers won't allow toy makers to give trigger weapons to action figures. But in this case, there's not a lot of accessories in this line as a whole, except for the clip-on onomatopoeias. So maybe it's a budget thing. But it's hard not to think, no guns. That trigger finger looks awfully lonely, though. Because look, the Batman 66 Villain's Lair has an umbrella right there on the shelf for Penguin, who didn't come with his weapon. I think that's part of the dio, that none of those things on the shelves are removable. There's still an umbrella in that vase. Could that come out? We'll see. Still, this looks like big old goofy fun. Just someplace to put your Batman 66 villains. And judging by the pictures here, where they're just lounging around, hanging out, it looks to be in better scale than the Batcave. Finally, there is the Batcycle with sidecar. This is what I'm most interested in, but they don't show it with any figures to give us a sense of size. Will this run small? Is the Batman and Robin in this line articulated enough to ride it? Is this meant to be just a prop? Some diorama candy? Does it matter for 30 bucks? To find out, tune in next week. Same Fwoosh time, same Fwoosh channel. Okay, I'm coming back to this because I got into edits and I just happened to check the McFarlane site, and they posted a picture of Batman and Robin riding on the Batcycle. Batman looks pretty comfortable, but oh man, poor Robin. Still, this answers the question whether or not the bike scales well with them, because this looks pretty close when you compare it to the picture on the back of the packaging. In the something that popped up as soon as Robo was done editing the last weekly department, here is Super7's Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Ultimates Wave 2. I've kind of kept track of Cardona and Myers since their WWE days, but I haven't paid a lot of attention to their ring gear. Looking at these, Myers in his black and grays, that's just spiffy. That looks good. But Matt's over-the-top design and quite a few colors, it's just eye candy. You look at it and go, there's all kinds of stuff going on here. I want to say the bodies and some of the heads are reused, but if it is, this time around the sculpts are so much sharper. And then on top of that, the paint apps seem way more natural and crisp than the first go-around. Like there was a lot of extra work involved here, which seems to be the reason why these are priced at $75 a piece. I mean, looking at the 250 different colors on the gear itself, I gotta think that pushed the price up, especially at a factory level. I'm also gonna guess making action figures of toy collectors who can point out every little wrong detail in figures, that can't be an easy chore either. Maybe it's part of the contract, maybe the price is built into something there, I don't know. But all I can say is, these are more expensive than your usual Ultimates. And Super7 has said that that's not gonna be the base price of Ultimates going forward. Then they proved it by debuting the Simpsons Ultimates Wave 3. Well, kind of proved it. First off, I've said this many times before, I do not know Simpsons. Once you get past the main family, I get a little lost. But thanks to the internet and memes and everything else, I do recognize Ralph and Mr. Burns. Then you lose me again at Kang and Kodos, but I can appreciate a good-looking, crazy cartoon alien. They are big, and you know what that usually means. Bigger price tag. Ralph and Burns are the standard Ultimates, $55. The aliens are $75, but look at the size of them. The heads, or however alien anatomy works, the bodies within the glass, those are about the size of Burns. Then you have alternate heads, bodies, whatever you want to call them, to go along with that. There's 2 of those per package. Yeah, it's extra plastic. But at the same time, and I hate to say it, Ralph being small, shouldn't that make him cheaper? I know what yeah, whatever. All the Ultimates scheduled for next year. It's been a couple of months since the reveal, but NECA has now solicited their Universal Monsters Invisible Man. We knew it was the character in the suit, and then the wrapped head, and we kind of assumed that it would be removable, you know, for full Invisible Man effect. But then there's even more options. There's this scary looking hollow head, where it looks like he's removed the goggles and the nose and such, but I think this one is my favorite. Comes off a little Muppet-like, but the effect totally works once you lock into it, and that's achieved by just a piece of plastic in the back. Plugs down. Still looks hollow down here. Floating piece on top. NECA also teased some Remco flavor a while back, and that's coming back around with the retro glow-in-the-dark assortment. Like the title says, it's retro and it's glow-in-the-dark. And yeah, while it's reuse, it's still cool to see these paint schemes on Frankenstein's monster, werewolf, and mummy. On top of that, it's wrapped up in that beautiful nostalgia tug packaging. Even if you're not into this, you have to realize that it's stuff like this that gets you more stuff later, plus this appeals to an older demographic. Yeah, it's modern sculpting, it's modern articulation, but it's very classic feel to the paint and, well, again, the packaging. So it'll throw back to the, was it late 70s, early 80s? Mid-80s, somewhere in there. I miss that craze for some reason because I'm pretty young when it comes down to it. Shut up. If you're interested in any of these, the links are in the description. Sticking with Universal Monsters, but mashing it up with some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, here is Splinter as Van Helsing. Actually, I wasn't sure if I wanted to put this figure in this section or in the last section, but when it came down to it, I think of this as a TMNT line. The base bodies keep the shape of the characters from the Turtle universe with Universal Monster stuff thrown at it, at least for the most part. Anyway, this, not as visually interesting as Mikey or Leo or Raph. It kind of falls within the same realm as April, where initial reaction was, well, it's just April cosplaying as the bride, but then the base effect was there. This comes off as just a rat in a coat and hat. It's still cool. It still fits the concept. I think what it comes down to is I'm going to have to see these all lined up side by side just to get the full effect. But that's not all from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That Mirage Comics Utrom that was revealed almost 4 months ago, that also went up for pre-order this week. New pictures, new looks at it from different angles. I know some people don't care for the shading on these, but I love how it makes it look metallic without having any metallic. I usually don't go this deep in turtle lines, but oh, that's tempting. But then my eye was just taken away because they also showed the Mirage Comics Casey Jones. This makes me feel better about skipping on the cartoon version of Casey Jones. Well, I say skip, I never saw it, so they made it pretty easy for me to skip. I guess I could have gotten it somehow, but I didn't. I guess I was waiting for this because this is more gritty, more dark, raw. Sure, it's a face that only his mother can love, but that doesn't matter to me. He's gonna be masked up, armed to the teeth, kicking everybody's ass. I don't care. I'll kick the turtles' asses with this figure. Just a good-looking toy. And really, that's what it comes down to. These are $38 a piece. The Mirage Comics offerings is October, and then Splinter is November. We already knew about the Disney-exclusive Hasbro Marvel Legends Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind multi-pack because it popped up in a video a few months back where somebody was interviewing someone at Disney. This showed up. They never spoke about it. They just kind of... But now, pre-orders have went up at the Disney store, and it gives us a closer look at it. And it doesn't really reveal anything we didn't already know. Basically, it's all a reuse, and depending on the lighting for these new pictures, there could be some paint tweaks too. And I don't mean to colors, I mean to shades of colors. Gamora and Rocket are just their mainline releases, and then Groot is that smiling exclusive that also came with his baby and potted plant versions. Star-Lord is actually the one that came in the 2-pack with Ego. You can tell by the curl on the front of his hair, so if you missed that, here you go. I still say the big draw is Drax, though. It's the blue pants and better skin tone from the second movie figure, but then the calm, closed mouth head from the first movie. Despite wanting that specifically, I think at this point I'm just going to wait for the next movie to come along, where we're more than likely going to get new costumes. But again, this is great for people who missed out on this version or wanted updated versions. $125, which is not bad for 5 Marvel Legends, one of them being a former Build-A-Figure. And it should be out sometime. I didn't actually look at that information. I'm sorry. Click the link in the description. Hasbro also continues to slow roll the return of starting lineup by announcing some partnerships with the NBA, with Fanatics, with delicious sandwiches apparently. Along with that, we get a closer look at a digital render of what is hopefully going to be a starting lineup figure. And look at that. Articulation? Am I going to have to give a basketball figure a test drive even though I know nothing about sports?
Boo! I don't watch sports either.
I'll take it. Double knees, hopefully some nicely hidden articulation there at the ankles. Then there's hips, ball waist, hinge and swivel wrists, double elbows, bicep swivel, butterfly at the shoulder. Guess we'll get the full reveal on September 22nd, but I would not say no to seeing more teases between now and then. You know? How am I this excited about sports figures? At the end of the day, good toys are good toys. Let's see what happens. The Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi series is still the main focus of Hasbro Star Wars Black series, at least for the foreseeable future, because this week they announced Jabeam Obi-Wan. That'll be coming to the main line, and as I was watching the series, I didn't even realize that Obi-Wan changed clothes this often. It's almost as if the movies and shows are specifically made to sell product. Mostly action figures. Am I the first one to come to this realization? I gotta tell everybody. At this point, you have your choice of whichever look was your favorite, but to me, I'm gonna be making some Jedi customs soon. And I think it's a good bet we'll see that Mythos look in the near future at some point, because they're going hard with Obi-Wan, right? That's actually the one I want the most because of its comic book roots. Or it's because Hasbro hasn't announced it yet, and that collector mentality of always wanting something that you can't have, at least at the moment. Hasbro also announced TMNT as a Target exclusive, which works because it's just the basic Jawa with a new vest, new overlay, new accessories. This is what most exclusives should be, especially if you're going to give them to Target. I dig the lighter brown, but I wish they would go soft goods with the outer robe like they did with the off-world Jawa. This just comes off as traffic cone with arms, but still nice to add to the Jawa crowd if you're into that kind of thing. The big news of the week, though, is Hasbro's G.I.Joe classified series HasLab Cobra Hiss. Just look at this chunk of plastic. It is so pretty. The hints all pointed this way, plus Hasbro Pulse posted the page the day before it was actually announced. But that initial discussion before the reveal was, if they're going to want me to pay the price that I think they're wanting me to pay, they better do this, and they better do this, and it better have that, and a little bit of that, and come around and give us this. And honestly, I think Hasbro delivered on a lot of those check boxes that I saw being thrown out there. 19 inches long, 11 inches high, LED lighting all over, moving treads, canopy opening options, moving turret, engine details, ladder, and a driver is really just the quick rundown. And I ain't too proud to say that I absolutely love the projecting Cobra logo. Even though where I'm probably going to fit it on the shelf, it would shoot off onto the main floor and probably be this big and kind of fuzzy. Don't care. That option's there. I love it. But all those bells and whistles plus it being a HasLab means the price tag is $300. And with that, you just have to look at your own personal idea of value. I can only speak for me, but I'm in. I was in right at the first. What? Yes. The driver by itself would be $25, $30 in the main line. That chops, again, speaking for myself, that chops off the base price. That puts the Hiss at $270. They also announced that another figure would be included if it funded within the first week. So, spoiler alert, it funded in the first 8 hours. So we're going to get that too. Shop off another $30. And yes, I get it. It's not affecting the price itself. Just my personal idea of the value. They announced the first upgrade, which is their tiers, their stretch goals, to be missile arrays that plug into the sides, and we blew through that the next day. More value added. Boom. With that happening, they announced Upgrade 2, which is a canopy that you can swap out, and then alternate tread covers. Not as exciting as dual-wield shooty Nerf darts, but this is a good option for those who were hoping for a more classic look to the Hiss. And there are those hoping for that, despite what you may see on social media. Hell, I got a text right now from my good buddy Dis Thunder saying, what did it say? I love those stretch goals. When do we need to pledge by? Ooh, and I've also got a text from my dad. Am I in trouble? So again, you have to decide whether or not this is worth it to you. You have to make that decision. But you have a little time to decide. There are 44 some odd days to go. And we're already this deep into, oh man, it's gonna be a weird month and a half on the internet. There's also slightly more news. Emily came back around after the live stream and said, oops, we forgot to announce the pipeline reveals, where they just throw out names of figures that are going to come out in 2023. And this week they're announcing Dreadnought Ripper and a new version of Firefly. And I just grabbed these pictures to post. I'm not sure which version of Firefly they're going to go with. Did they announce that pipelines would be mainline, or just characters are showing up? Because when I look at this Firefly, I think Retro Collection. So, I don't know, maybe it's different. And that's all for this week. No, it's not. I just got a notification when I looked at my phone that said McFarlane showed the DC Multiverse Black Adam wave, or they went up for order on Amazon. So we'll swing back around next week. If you're interested in seeing any of these pictures up close without me all, you'll be looking for a toy newsman. That's what I am. I'll be posting all of that along with links to more information, pre-orders, whatever else, on the Fwoosh front page Saturday at noon. There's also the announcement going around that Hasbro will not be selling exclusives in person at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm kind of torn because on one hand, yeah, it's kind of fun to get the figures right then. Open it up, mess around with it at the hotel, at the restaurant, wherever I may be hanging out. But two, it's also nice to just, oh, I secured this, it will show up later, I will not have to throw away clothes or shift luggage in order to get these home. Plus, it feels a little bit more accessible to everybody because it'll go up on the side. If it's anything like the Heavy Mandalorian from Star Wars Celebration, it shouldn't be that big a deal, which it usually is because, oh no, San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, they're going to sell out into... Hopefully there won't be that stress this year because we're just getting back. We're just getting into the flow of things. We don't need any more stress. But if you enjoyed this Fwoosh Weekly, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com, wherever you may be watching this. I don't know wherever you may be watching this. I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. Oh, and I'll have to get into it again, maybe a short next week or something. But there was also another comment informing me that I put the wheels on the Hasbro Fortnite Victory Royale series Man Cake Cannon on backwards. Well, not this way. You can just flip them this way. You got to put the barrel to the inside, and then the hub comes in and actually goes into the wheel part, so it spins freely. So I'll have to correct that at some point, unless I shot it and put it at the first of this weekly because somebody hit me up for copyright with some song because I used a video from the toy company themselves.